we have not seen. I guess all that we want to respond. We talked about this earlier.
So generally speaking, what we'll do is we'll provide a formal update for you. Usually the citizen comments portion of the evening, members of the community are allowed to come and address the council on anything that's not on the agenda. We don't typically respond in the evening, but given the fact that the mayor brought it up, as noted, we received the first payment from the sales tax started in July of 2005, so we're about 6 months into those payments. The first request that staff had for the city council was that our feasibility report for the Bertram King Lakes Regional Athletic Park was from 2016, and we knew that we needed to get an updated version of the feasibility report so that we could have a discussion with members of the community about how to best phase that. And while certainly having a lot of voices at that table is going to be really critical, the first step is certainly for us to bring that forward to the city council so they have an opportunity just to see exactly what you described. This is the amount of money that will be authorized by the tax. This is approximately the amount of time that we believe will be collecting that tax. And here's kind of an overview of what that feasibility report looks like and what we could potentially accomplish. And then putting together that steering committee that was noted, I think in the first meeting that we had with the city council, noted that that steering committee would be involved with giving feedback on what improvements at Bertram would mean the most to the various athletic associations that are already using the park, and who help to make a difference for it, and then ultimately allow the city council to determine what the phasing looks like as far as how we would do that with when the money is coming in, whether or not they want to pay as we go with those funds that are coming in from the sales tax revenue, whether or not they plan to use their bonding capacity and then repay the bonds with the sales tax revenue, and how much they want to bite off in each piece. And certainly there will be a lot of opportunities for the associations to be a critical part of those discussions. I think the hardest part for all of us is that certainly we think that things can happen immediately, and it's just, I don't think it will come as a surprise to anybody that local government tends to be quite methodical, and we tend to move at a pace to make sure that we're being incredibly transparent with what we're doing, and giving our policymakers time to review everything and make sure that they're making good decisions. So, like I said, I'll put together a formal response to your comments tonight so you have a good idea of where we're going, and so that you have information that you can provide to your membership. And I would just really ask for patience as we think about how we can best use that funding to make the biggest difference out of Bertram. Sounds like that's what we all want, no matter what. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Sofer, and I've been a long-time resident of Monticello, currently live on Badger Street. And I'm here to address the matter of the 550-acre development site and future infrastructure as it pertains to conflict of interest disclosure. In the interest of protecting public trust, I'm formally requesting a full written disclosure of any direct or indirect financial ties between members of this council and the entities representing this project, specifically Cushman & Wakefield and Amberjack Real Estate. Pursuant to Minnesota State Statute 10A.07, I request these disclosures to be entered into the official record before any final action is taken regarding this land. Given the multi-billion-dollar scale of this development, the community deserves a clear affirmation of total absence of conflict of interest. Ensuring this transparency now prevents the risk of future decisions being called into question or vacated due to statutory disclosure.
Do you mind if I catch y'all in the recording?
All right.
Scott Cutsforth, I live in the Hunters Crossing neighborhood. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I've got like 3 things I just want to touch on. First, the city stated that infrastructure improvements, if a data center wasn't built, we'd have to do bonding.
Thank you.
For upgrades such as Fallon. One thing I'm wondering about is if we can put a pause, I think maybe mentioned a little bit last meeting, but if we could put a pause on the speed limit sign change, it's $500,000. We put a pause on that, so it said, let's work with the Wright County to enforce the existing speed limits instead of spending $500,000 to upgrade signage.
Just for the record, we never approved. change.
Did say you did, but it is something that has been brought up in last meeting, that the number to do it was mentioned. Second, I just wanted to address the point that was proposed for Twin Pines apartment complex. I've never seen an apartment development where the primary entrance and exit run through a small business parking lot. Regardless of whether a school is in that building area, the design raised significant safety concerns. The developer mentioned this configuration is meant to serve as a legacy for someone named Ken. I don't know who that is, but that was something that was mentioned to me, that this is his legacy. Unfortunately, the gentleman passed away, but while I respect that sentiment, this is a 96-unit building, and simple estimates say that we're looking at 150 vehicles at least twice a day, if not 3 times a day. That is far too much traffic for a small commercial lot to handle, in my opinion. In addition, I'm concerned with the proximity of this project to the high voltage electrical transmission lines. I believe through trying to use Google the best I could, that those lines carry 345 kilovolts. They stand approximately 115 to 150 feet tall. That's leaving somewhere between 65 and 90 feet of clearance from the top of the building to these transmission lines. And I feel like that is a serious risk of electrifying that building. And I know this is something that can happen. When they built the walking bridge across 610 to get to Elm Creek Park, they ended up shutting it down for a couple of months because people were being shocked really good when they would touch the the railing. So even though it's that far up, it still is emitting a lot of electrical current still in the air. And then lastly, I am begging the city council, someone on the city council, to submit a motion to consider a 1-year moratorium on a data center in the city. The process seems to be moving forward too quickly. Minnesota State Senator Michael Holmstrom, just last week, has raised concerns about the energy consumption of these facilities and is encouraging residents to speak up. He even provided his phone number. In addition, Senator Jennifer McEwen is looking to introduce legislation that would place a 2-year statewide pause on all data centers so lawmakers can study the potential negative impacts on communities. Given these activities, discussions at a state level, it seems to me responsible that the city take a step back and evaluate the long-term implications before we continue to move forward with this process.
I too have more than one item to cover, and I want to be in order here, because I do want to address the Twin Pines development as well. I know I spoke with
Say your name,
you.
Bill.
What?
Say your name, Bill.
Bill Sable. I've been a resident of Monticello since 1988. And I wanted to follow up with a visit I had with the mayor almost a little bit over a week ago. But anyway, I brought up the concern that was already mentioned just prior to this about the setback of electrical powers. There's actually 3 transmission towers passing through there, and I believe that not only does Excel need to very explicitly share the setback for that, because it's not a normal setback with 1 set of transmission lines, but we've got 3, and they can add together, and that needs a special assessment for setback, not just what we've been told. The other thing with setback, and previous speaker mentioned it, is that when you have parallel lines going parallel to the power structure, current can actually be invoked in there. I have a friend that is right under the power, and she has her garden there, but the electrical fence will give her a snap in the rear end. That's what happens. So it gets, what I would say is that if a building is built there, there should be no parallel power lines inside that building. But that's a whole other issue, but I don't believe that you want a 3-story building that close. And what happens too with the EMF field around those lines, it's like a big donut. Well, the higher you go up, you need to be further away because it's a circular path around those power lines, which means, yeah, we have to really look at that setback for a 3-story building or a 2-story. I don't know how tall it is, but I believe that needs special attention. And I believe the building shouldn't have parallel lines when it's wired. The other thing about that place, and this is a very personal thing, I surveyed that quite close when it had snowed. And yes, there's 2 lanes coming in there, but close to the outlet, it really narrows down to 1 lane, and there's a fire hydrant there. So again, I'm sure that would be addressed, if they had to build it. I know that would. But right now, it just does not make sense. I personally believe there's other functions for that property back there. And what I would see, and you might not get as much tax money from it, but I see a gated storage unit back there, because that would cut down on traffic, and it wouldn't be when people are coming and going. Right now, that traffic goes right between perpendicular parked cars. So when they back out, they're backing into traffic. So a very poor setup for travel. I'm going to close with that. I really want to go ahead.
No, go
I
ahead.
really wanted to speak about the data center, and I want to yield to others, but I did go down to the data center rally on Wednesday. It was very profitable, and I'm going to be sending links to some of the primary speeches that were given at that rally. I wish there were more representatives and senators represented at that rally, because there were some very powerful messages spoken. And so we're not alone. We've got at least a dozen other communities that are facing the very same things we are. We need to be communicating with them and working together. I believe that we're all on the same page. It's just that we don't have the common data. I had a wonderful experience this morning. I talked with a guy from
Bill, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to cut you off.
What's that?
I'm gonna have to cut you off.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
Joe Kraft, 4th Ward 3 Street members. Mayor, City Council, and residents, I speak tonight because of a recent disclosure of communication involving City Council member Kent Christensen demand for serious attention and accountability. When an elected official meets privately with a developer whose project is actively before council or a commission, allows for the developer to outline the needs of what they need from our city and to position themselves to advance interest, that is not routine communication. That is conduct that raises legitimate concerns under Minnesota conflict of interest and PIF laws. Minnesota Statute 471-87 prohibits public officials from having direct or indirect financial interest in municipal companies. Minnesota Statute 471.895 prohibits the local officials from accepting gifts from an interested person, meaning anyone with a financial stake in the matter before the council. Hospitality, meals, drinks, or anything of value from the developer seeking approval is precisely that kind of situation that the statutes were written to guard against. Whether or not legal technical threshold was crossed is not the issue here. The issue is public trust. Elected officials have a fiduciary duty to act solely on the interests of the residents that they represent. Private coordination with developers during active negotiation undermines the confidence of impartial decision-making, even the appearance of inappropriately damaging. A public office is not a back channel advisory role for private interests. It's a position of trust. It requires transparency, requires independence, and requires avoiding divided loyalties. When actions create reasonable doubt about compliance with the Minnesota Ethics Board, resignation is not dramatic. It is responsible. For the integrity of the City Council and restoration of public confidence in Monticello governance, I am calling for Kip Christensen to resign immediately. Monticello deserves leadership that is transparent, accountable, unquestionably aligned with the public, and not private developer interests. Thank you.
First of all, I'm gonna ask y'all to go with me. I'm nervous as hell standing up here.
You should see how I feel.
I'm a veteran. I have lineage here. And it goes back way before I was born. I have grandfathers that served in both world wars. One of them came home to predict my birth. That in itself was mind-blowing, because I just had a conversation with my father about an hour in length, and I put it on my YouTube channel. There's a reason why. I want my lineage known because I see what goes on in Monticello with these businesses that y'all bring in, and then you jack the taxes, and you tell us that it's bringing in jobs, but it doesn't. Y'all have help wanted signs all around you, and people apply, and they get turned down for whatever reason. Y'all say it ain't personal, there is no favoritism. I say you're blind. You don't understand what it's like to be a veteran out here, trying to have a voice that gets heard. When you're going on 50 years old, look at me. What do I have to complain about, right? I have privilege, right? I'm a vet. I come from a veteran family. Jason, Frank, Arthur, Ross. That's who I am. I care about the people here, and I care about you. I'm not here to tell you how to do your job. I'm here to open up your mind. Because when you bring in things like this, when you get done with construction, and then you turn around and you do it again after we just got above water, and then you bring it back. I walk this town. I have a moniker. I'm called the Monticello Guitar Guy, and I got it not upon my own. I was seen on the corner of McDonald's. People have seen me come from this trailer park and they call me trash. I'm trash. You can look at me and you can physically pick me apart. I can be fixed with a dentist. What's it going to take to fix you? When are you going to wake up? If you chase dollars, you're chasing numbers. Numbers never end. These human beings that live here, they work here, their families have been here. Y'all care about the dollars that come in. Right off the bat, oh yeah, it's all kinds of money. Maintenance, upkeep. What does that entail? Y'all get all kinds of raises, and I'm talking about city, state, federal. Y'all will raise what y'all are making. You will raise the cost of living. You will raise the taxes. When do they get a raise? When do I get a raise? To compensate. There is no compensation. There's I'm sorry for your luck. Let me send you to a mental health institution because you obviously have PTSD. Let me get you off my streets. Because when I walk these streets and I play my guitar in random areas, I don't play songs, I play what I feel. It's all over my YouTube channel. And here's a little analytics for you. Just in case y'all ever think that the little guy doesn't have a voice. I started this past October, and I was in a meeting here then, but I missed the time to talk. And I believe it was you I wound up talking to. My purpose, this YouTube channel, do you want to know what the idea is behind it? Is to replace you. Why? Because when these people struggle, and they come to you for help, you look for every reason not to. And that goes all the way up federal. Y'all go home to your posh lives, driving your nice cars. While people like me struggle to get heard. And I signed my name just like my lineage did. Predicted me 2 years before being here. I will run. I will run for governor. I'll run for president. You're not going to silence me. You're not going to shut me out. Because if I have to walk from here to the White House with a phone, a YouTube channel, and a guitar, I will find a way to make a difference. Y'all push your taxes. Break us and keep us underwater. You build a foundation that is unstable on purpose. Then we have to rely on you. I don't have the money for your club. You don't have the integrity for mine.
My name is Margaret Sullivan. I'm 4258 Russell Avenue North, Minneapolis. I'm just a little downstream from you on the Mississippi, North Minneapolis.
Thank you.
I moved here from California a few years ago to help my mom care for my dad. I stayed after he passed because by then I'd fallen in love with this place. So I wanted to speak a bit tonight from the world outside Monticello. I could be wrong, but I imagine that if you're really present for your city councilling, you might not always have time to think about how your decisions affect folks outside. So one way is water. I just learned that apparently a few years ago some radioactive water leaked from your nuclear reactor, and groundwater under that leak moves toward the river. And me and my mom were not that far away. I guess we were lucky that none of it got in the river. Hyperscale data centers with the closed loop cooling, they leak chemicals too. And I could be wrong, but it seems to me as if a hyperscale data center started eventually really draining your aquifer, probably you'd come to us for drinking water, and then be the same way, the other way around. Another way is power. Power failures made national news again today. And during the last cold snap a few weeks ago, KARE 11 ran a story with the headline, U.S. power grids face rising risks of winter energy shortages as data center growth outpaces capacity, jeopardizing nationwide. And according to KARE 11, of the 16 large electricity grids covering the country, 10 are now at increased risk of failure, and some, including the one Minnesota is in, are at high risk. Actually, to be more specific, the one Minnesota is in is at the highest risk for future power failure sometime in the next 3 winters. And maybe you're prepared for winter power failure,
We'll follow up.
but my mom and I will freeze to death.
We'll give you the
And
update.
probably we're not alone.
I gotta set this down. This is
The
heavy
simple
for me.
fact is that because so many
Much more
people
made a difference.
outside Monticello would
Keep
be
rising like
less
the
safe
Phoenix is for.
with a hyperscale data center here, we have a right to be here and say how we feel about it.